Alrighty, guys, welcome to another episode of Journey to the Pit, and I'm Jim Collins. Tonight we have another great special guest. Again, this is one of the guests that is going. That's a part of our marathon series. You know, we ran 10 interviews back to back of game fowl breeders, man, to help us, kind of deal with the stress of being home and dealing with this quarantine. We decided to do a marathon of interviews. We used to do the interviews only once a week, Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But we decided to do something different to kind of help out with the game fowl community. I reached out to some game fowl breeders that had to anticipate coming onto the show and asked them if they would want to be a part of it. Everybody was definitely more than willing to be a part of it, man. And we have Anthony coming on this evening, which is another guest. A lot of y'all viewers out there know him. Some of y'all don't. But I guess after this interview tonight, we all will know him. So we got Anthony Lumby from Bug Gamefarm that's coming on this evening. And he's going to take us on his journey as we do always with these interviews. And I hope y'all guys enjoy. Please post in the comments any comments that y'all guys or questions that y'all may have. I'll try to get to some of them. We will not have all of the questions asked during the interview because y'all guys know these interviews already run about 2 hours, at least over an hour. So again, if we start taking too many questions out of the comment section, this interview will end up lasting 3 or 4 hours. So, like I said, we'll pick particular questions out of there. Anthony will get into the comment section after the interview, and he will address, the questions in the comment section, and y'all guys can reach directly out to him, after the interview. So I'm going to bring our special guests on so we can get this thing rocking and rolling. We started on time this evening. I hope y'all guys are really enjoying this 10 interview series back to back marathon. We have one more that's coming after Anthony, and that's going to be the end of the 10 interview series. So I hope y'all guys enjoy it. But let me go ahead and bring our special guest in this evening, and he'll be coming in 2, 3, 1. Anthony, how you doing this evening?
Well, what's going on, Jim? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Is the audio and video good on your end?
Wonderful.
All right, good. All right, so it looks like we got people already logged in, people already watching. Everybody seems to say that the video and the audio looks good. So we get ready to rock and roll. So Anthony, you know how we start these interviews off. We always like to give the audience a background of who they looking at and who they listening to. So I always start off with pretty much the same questions. Are you first generation, second generation, and how did you get into the game fowl?
I would consider myself second generation. I came into this kind of at the tail end from my grandpa. I didn't show too much interest, into the birds at that time. When I was about 16, I got a lot of family members, and first of all, the Lumbee is my tribe, is part of my tribe, Native American tribe. So there's a lot of people from my tribe that are in the game fowl, and just traveling to different farms and seeing the fowl. I grew an interest to it, and that's basically that was basically the start of it. I fell in love. Matter of fact, when I was in school, I got one of my good close friends. His father, actually, he's third generation, and I told him, I said, "Man, bring me one of them little baby chicks, to the schoolhouse." Right. And he brought that baby chick to the schoolhouse, man, and that thing was tweeting here and there, and I brought that thing back home, and it ended up being a rooster, man. I was like, man, I got to have more of these. Get
out of here, man. So you kind of started in your teens, huh?
Oh yeah. It was one of them things, when you got that chick and you're raising it up, and you know how we all fall in love with animals, just taking care of them.
That's right.
So, like I said, it was one of them things that I fell in love with, man. I started going to different friends' house, and man, let me purchase this rooster, or let me purchase that rooster. And I'm a smaller farm, so I know a lot of guys can relate. Just starting off, you'll go buy a $10 rooster, $20 rooster. It was one of them things that that some of us do, and when it was legal, I go ahead.
No, and I was going to say, I think we all can relate to that, because the vast majority of us, even if we second, third generation, a lot of times, we start off small, like you say. You go out here, you pick up a $10 rooster, $20 rooster, bring them on home, and that's kind of how you start off. So, I'm pretty sure we all can kind of relate on how you started off. That kind of makes us all reminisce about how we started the same identical way, man, just going out there getting those $10 and $20 roosters or whatever, visiting farms and getting roosters from other people. So
Right.
I'm pretty sure we can definitely relate to that. So you started off, in your teens, in your
Right.
teens. Tell me this, Anthony, you said that your grandfather kind of was in it also too.
Right.
Did he live in your area that you live in now when you had the game foul?
Yeah, he was within my area. He was older up in age, and he passed away before I
Okay.
actually really got into showed interest into him.
Right.
He
Right.
would talk about it here and there.
Right.
And it was just one of them things, I really didn't. We young, it weren't something
Right.
I was interested in at that time.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So like you say, man, you're Native American. Lumbee is your tribe, and you
Right.
said there's a lot of other tribes or a lot of Native Americans in your area that participate in game fowl or breed and raise game fowl.
Oh, a lot, man. I mean, there's so many within the area. You can't help but to
Right.
get into something like this and fall in love with it. It's all around
Right.
you. Uh, that's why I got. That's why I grew interest to it. But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
as far as my, can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. It went out a little bit, but I can hear you now.
Okay.
I think he had like a little delay. It froze up for a second, but we good now. But yeah, go ahead, continue on.
Okay. Yeah, but I went to one of my buddy's houses and I was like, man, I got the he was showing me, how to spar 'em and, et cetera, back when it
Uh-huh.
was legal. And I was like, man, that thing right
Right.
there, it looked like a good one there. I want me one of them.
Right.
And he's like, well, it's
Uh-huh.
gonna cost you a little more. So
Right.
today my wife, at the time she was my girlfriend, and she had got a
Uh-huh.
little bit of
Uh-huh.
she had got a little bit of tax money, and she told me to hold
Uh-huh.
on to it to help pay the bills. Man, I took that
Right.
$2,500 and went and got me a nice trio. Man, her lights was out for about 2 weeks.
Hey,
Man, that
what's
was
so
something.
funny about that, Anthony? That is so funny because I promise you, you're not the only person who has done that, man. These birds do something to us, man, and make us make decisions that we like, man, why did I take our bill money, man, to go out there and buy them birds?
Right, right.
but but you did it though, man. So you said that right there. You said I'm knee deep in it now, man. You done went out there, rolled, and I guess you asked for it. It was better for you to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission, huh? Let me go ahead
It,
and
it,
ask for forgiveness for spending that tax money, huh?
it makes up for it now.
That is so funny, man. He said he took the tax money and went out there and bought his first trio. Well, now that you say that, dude, what was the first bloodline? What was the trio that you purchased?
It's a Murphy blind. I went to a local
Okay.
guy. He's been to Gamecock
Okay.
magazines, Grit and Steel. Um,
Okay.
I went and got some. This guy I got introduced to the guy. I actually, was riding by and actually seen the birds,
Okay.
and I went and knocked on his
Okay.
door, and he pulled out a shotgun on me, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Wow.
I'm just wanting to take a look at your birds.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just
Right.
wanting to take a look at the birds, and I don't mean no harm by it. He said, well, today ain't the day.
Right.
So I said, you know what? I'm gonna try this
Wow.
guy one more time since today ain't the day. And I went
Right.
back to him, and he said, well, come on, let me show you the yard. And he grew a liking to
Uh-huh.
me, and
Okay.
that's when I started purchasing, some real good bloodlines. And
Mm-hmm.
as we would show them, back when it was legal, I started to say,
Right.
well, I need to try different lines and try to improve to make my blood better. and
Mm-hmm.
in the process, it gets kind of difficult. As far as I strictly breed. I'm a breeder. I love the breeding process. I always love to try to
Mm-hmm.
make the bird better and better. And with doing that, it comes through heavy selection. Um,
Right.
I find it very, that's the most that's very difficult.
Yes.
Trying to
Very
select a
difficult.
good broodcock. Uh, yeah. Selecting your brood pens. Um, it gets challenging. It gets very challenging.
It's very, yeah, it is very challenging, and like you say, it is a process. So the thing about it is you make those decisions, which they're always hard decisions, and you make the decisions the best that you can with the selection that you have, and sometimes you still don't get what you think you should get out of it. You know what I mean? It's like, man, that the cock looks good, the hen looks good, but I'm still not getting what I want out of it. So I think that breeding is kind of like an art and in part science and a lot of patience. Part art, part science, and a lot of patience. So, you said the breeding aspect is something that you heavily interested in and trying to create better and better birds every generation, huh?
Right. Yeah, that's my main focus is creating the best birds I can and putting them in
Right,
the best care, giving them to the
right,
best hands, and and
right,
and having them make the bird their show and perform at their best potential.
right. So Anthony, tell me this. You went out, you said some Murphy blood. That was like your first trio.
Right,
And then you acquired some different stuff, trying to make better and better birds to create your own set. Yeah, I guess I would say your own family, basically. Even though you got different blood, but you
right. Yeah,
still
well,
making your own decision
yeah,
on your own family.
yeah. I had one of my grandfather, one of his good friends. He had some of the Oscar Atkins blue faces that my
Okay,
grandpa got directly from Oscar.
okay,
And I got some of that blood, which is some of the best blood that I have. I think. Um, I started with my blue faces and then my Murphys and then I got
right,
different bloodlines and seeing they weren't working for me.
right,
So the only thing you do is just because you go to a guy and you purchase $1,000 pair or a thousand
right,
dollar trio, that doesn't
right.
necessarily mean that it's going to produce. So, I mean, sometimes there's been breeders that I go and I get a quality cock and get the quality
Mm-hmm,
hen of two sisters,
mm-hmm,
and I single mate
mm-hmm,
them two sisters, and them two sisters throw different kind of stag. They don't
mm-hmm,
perform the same. Uh,
mm-hmm.
so with being a smaller farm, it's easier for me to kind of maintain which hen is the proven hen and which hen is throwing the quality stags. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean my book is outrageous. Now I'm trying to minimize that to so I'm not having so many markings and etc.
Right. 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 And I want to just elaborate a little bit on that point because I think you made a very good point. Like you say, you can go out and you can get the quality cock, you can get the quality hens and all of that, but that still does not mean you're going to get exactly what you're looking for, correct?
Right, correct. Yeah, I mean I've taken I, I bought a brood cock from a guy, and I got two brood hens. Both of them hens
Hmm.
they weren't producers, but I turned around and bought two more sisters, and they was real good
Uh-huh.
producers, and they was direct
Wow.
sisters, same markings and everything. So like I
Wow.
said,
That's
it's
amazing.
right,
So,
and
so
like I said,
so what you saying with
was
that? I'm sorry.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say I think that's a point that we really want to reiterate just based on your experience, not something you read, but you actually went got two brood hens. They really wasn't producing. Went and got two sisters of those brood hens, and those two sisters
Hmm.
were producing.
Correct, correct.
Wow.
Hmm.
Hmm. So Anthony, tell me this: were and just to kind of reiterate, so the first set of brood hens you have, or say the first set of sisters, the first
Right.
set of sisters you have, basically when you saying they wasn't producing, was they pretty much just not producing what you were liking to your liking? Like the stags wasn't really what you were looking for, you know?
Yeah. There were certain qualities that I was looking for that wouldn't pass at at certain levels that I was trying to get to. Um,
Right,
so yeah, I had to, like I said, I had to disqualify the hens and get two more
right,
hens because I know it come from good bloodline, and I knew it was somewhere
right,
in there. So
right,
I told him, I said, man, let me get two more hens. I want the same
right,
thing. Let me try two more. And
right,
by doing it like that, it's a longer process. It takes
right,
several years to do that.
right.
But I figured once you establish a good proven uh pure pair or trio,
Mm-hmm.
or your pure stuff is proven, then you know what you got.
Mm-hmm.
They're showing like you
Right,
want, they're producing like you want, and then that's
right.
when I go and start crossing to other fowl.
Right. So that's a good thing. So what I like about it is the fact that even with your first two hens, with those first two hens not producing, like you said, you knew it came from good blood. So that's what made you say, "Hey, let me get
Right.
another crack at it because I know this is some good blood here." But you also know as a breeder, everything don't produce the same identical way, regardless if they're sisters, brothers, or whatever the case is. You knew that as a breeder. So you like, you know what? I might just got two duds on this one. Let me go ahead and give it another
Right.
try because I know this blood is producing. So that was basically your mindset, right?
Right. Oh yeah, and it happens a
Right,
lot of times. I have guys come to me saying, "Oh man, I just went to such and such, and I bought $1,500 trio, and man,
right,
they're no good. They're not
right.
what they're expecting it to be. Well, sometimes you might have to
Mhm.
get. A lot of people assume that you can go and get a brood pair and expect to produce like the person that they're getting from. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
If
That's a
that was
great
the case,
point.
then everybody would be competing on the same level.
Right. That is a very, do you know what, Anthony? That is an extremely good point. You exactly right. But you know what? So I know that's probably common knowledge to you and common knowledge to me. But I promise you, it's thousands of guys out there that don't realize that. They think they can just roll up to this breeder. And it's not like the breeder's selling you any junk. It's not like that.
Right.
He's not selling
Right.
you stuff that he doesn't want. That's not it. It goes back to
Right.
what just happened to you. You bought two sisters, they didn't produce. You bought two same sisters, and they
Right.
still produce, and they always related. So that just shows you
Mm-hmm.
two of them did produce, two of them did produce. So that shows you that the breeder didn't intentionally sell you something that
Right.
didn't work.
They
It's
don't
just
know.
that you can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't determine every single chromosome that these animals get. You know what I'm saying? It's not like
Right.
a slot machine. Like I put a quarter in it and I get credit for a quarter. Well, it doesn't work
Right.
like that. You breed two pair together. You do not know what the offspring is going to receive until they out, until you can show them or breed them or whatever the case is. But I do like the fact that you realize that you realize that, hey, I might need to give another crack at it. And then you also said, hey, guys, y'all coming to me just because you went and got that $100 trio. That doesn't mean you're gonna be able to produce the same birds that the guy who sold them to you. It still
Right.
takes time.
Right. It does.
Those are some very good points, man. Those are some very good points that are overlooked all the time. And I know as a breeder, y'all guys run into that all the time when a guy pick up the phone and say, hey, man, these things ain't, producing this or producing that. You're like, listen, dude, that's how the game is. I didn't say
Right.
no junk, but ain't no guarantee you're going to get exactly what I sold you.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, and like I said, you'll have a lot of times where guys are looking for particular bloodlines, and I think that the such and such kill so is it. Everybody says that it's going to make my blood better. Well, you got to understand that once that person buys from a big breeder, then it's up
Right.
to him to maintain. 5 people can go to one breeder, get the same bloodline, and
Right.
3-4 years down the road, one of them breeders is going to be a better producer. you know. So you might be getting the
That's
same
right.
blood, but not be getting the good part of it. So
That's right. That's
and
right.
it goes back. It's go back to don't buy a name, buy what's winning.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I think you are an example of that because you
Right,
went out there, you didn't skimp on money, and the first round wasn't good. The second round was good, but you stuck with it because you know at the end of the day, you went to that breeder for a reason. You knew that
right,
blood is winning. You knew that blood is there. It's just that you understood that everything doesn't produce the same. And the
right,
first two you got wasn't giving you what you wanted, but it didn't keep you from going back again because you knew it was all there. And that's again, and I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but I just want to make sure that we iterate some of these points that you actually been through experience. 5 breeders, 5 people can go to a breeder, buy 5 trios, and like you say, it's their responsibility from that day forward to maintain what they purchase, right?
right, right. And of course, you know that comes from heavy selection, culling. There's a lot of factors that play within that. Of being a breeder and selecting. It gets challenging. You got to be patient. You got to be patient. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. It doesn't work overnight. You just don't take one-time winner, two-time winner, and think that you're going to put it over some hens and it's going to be the best you ever had. It doesn't work like that.
Right. I'm laughing, dude, but I'm laughing because some people still think it does work like that. But again, that's why I threw that patience in there. I think it's art, it's science, and it's also most of all is patience. Because
Right.
I think a lot of guys give up on certain, you know, uh, um, directions that they wanted to go with a certain bloodline. I think they give up because listen, everybody wouldn't have done what you done. You went back and gave it another shot. About 70% of people out there would have just threw the towel in and just went to a whole nother yard. I mean, right or wrong. I mean, do you agree?
Right. Right. It happens all the
Someone
time.
would have just right. It happens all the time. They threw the towel in, man, and said, "Nah, man, I bought 2 hens from this guy, and I got nothing but garbage." That guy's selling garbage, and then you have 10 guys over to the sideline like, "Nah, dude, I got." We bought 10
Good.
trios
Yeah.
from that dude, and they some monsters. But
Right.
but again, I think points like this are extremely important because we have a lot of people watching the show who get at different levels of the sport, and they need to understand that this is the behind the scenes stuff that a lot of people don't talk about. You hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, if one performed bad, I go home and I wipe the whole family out." We had James Sylvester come on the show, and he's like, "That ain't how it works." If I had
Right.
one bad showing, I'm not gonna go home and wipe the whole family out because all of
Right.
them don't produce the same. All of them doesn't
Right.
don't produce the same. You know what I'm saying? So, but Anthony, dude,
Right.
when
Yeah.
these guys coming to you, when they coming to you like that, are you really dropping jewels on them to let them know, dude, it really doesn't work like that? Let me explain to you how it works.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, guys come to, they come and they see I'm a small farm, small guy, but I come with a big punch. So
That's
any
right.
chance I
That's
get
right.
to break down, to help somebody, that's what I do.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I want to kind of, still focus on the breeding because you said that's the biggest part of the sport that you really love is the breeding aspect. So let's just spend
Right.
a little bit more time on that. So let's just talk a little bit about, like you said, selection is a very challenging thing. Let's talk a little bit about selection, and let's just start with the cock. What qualities you look for, and that type of stuff.
Like I said, it all depends on how you're competing. Uh, you're looking for confirmation. Confirmation is real is a good key to look for
Hmm.
whenever you're trying to select brood material. Um,
Okay.
Without good confirmation, it's kind of like if you're a boxer and you got short arms, you
Right.
got to kind of get in tighter. You know what I'm saying? You got to get in
That's
kind of
right.
close.
Hmm.
Um, but then you got you looking for when I look for brood material, I'm looking for from it coming up as a baby. I'm
Okay.
always watching the chicks. I'm watching them. Uh, as far as myself, when I put that rooster in that brood pen, if he's chasing his tail and he's acting crazy and foolish and his water bowl is getting dirty, and that's not something that
Right.
I'm going to pick as far as a quality brood rooster.
Got you, got you. So you looking for temperament, behavior, all that kind of stuff, and you're kind of looking at that starting from a chick age on up. You kind of evaluating him. You evaluate your brood cocks throughout their life, and then you make the determination once
From
they
the
get
beginning.
old on who's going to be into that brood pen.
Right, yeah, from the beginning. And everybody have different things that they look for in a rooster. I'm looking for what I like in one.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk a little bit about that, Anthony. Say with a brood cock, what type of station do you like on them?
I like medium station. I like a
Okay.
medium station bird. Um, sometimes when they get too high station, they become straddle leg or they overreach.
Hmm.
I like a good medium station bird that
Okay. Good medium.
you can't go wrong.
Hmm. So, medium station, we're looking at medium station, and you explain to us why you like the medium station. How about breast? Do you like a bird with a big breast, or, breast proportionate to his body
Oh yeah,
size? You know,
you, yeah, oh yeah, they got to be my blue faces, they come with I mean, big huge breasts,
okay.
solid. And like I said, it depends on what what they get showed in. Um,
Hmm.
if I want a big breast bird, or if I want one that's more lean, tight body type.
Hmm.
Um, like I said, it depends on what you're showing in.
Right, right, right. So basically, you're also saying that, like you said, depends on what poultry shows they showing in. You kind of align a confirmation for that type of show, basically, correct?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Got you, got you. So,
You know,
so like you saying, the confirmation is very important.
oh yeah, very important.
Well, so we got the confirmation. So we got a medium station, depending on. So you breed multiple, I would say, multiple different confirmations on a yard. You breed streamline, and you also breed birds that have heavy breast. Would you say that is those pretty much the two
Oh
things you
yeah,
stay between? Hmm.
yeah. Either big breast or more lean tight body birds. That's what
Okay,
I transitioned to over here on my farm.
okay. How about, does eye color play into effect on anything?
Uh, I to tell you the truth, just from my mentors and listening to them speak with me, you know eye color, you want the dark red eyes. Um, I personally haven't seen a difference in it, but just how I was taught and brought up, that's not something
Right,
that you want. But
right.
personally, I haven't had no experience where I could say, the red eye ones are what you're looking for, or the yellow eyes, because there's so many different bloodlines. You got that Oriental bird. You never know
Hmm.
what's into that's crossed into that fowl, for him
Hmm.
to come red eye, yellow eye, vice versa.
Right. Right, right, right. So eye color doesn't play in it, and then as we talk about, I had some guys come on and talk about tail. Does the position of their tail, is that a factor in your criteria?
Yeah, not really. It's kind of hard to explain the look that I'm looking for. It's a certain kind of look that's easier to see and point out than explain.
Right,
Uh,
right. Well,
I don't want no squirrel tail, kind of rooster. I want them, exactly what they're looking for at the poultry shows. You want that good
that's right.
confirmation, good tail.
Right.
Um,
Hmm.
that's what I look for.
Right. And all the viewers out there, like I said, y'all guys can go over to Anthony's page and, like he's saying, because a lot of times it is harder to describe than it is just to look at. But you can go over to his page. He got a lot of beautiful birds on there. And then y'all guys can kind of, look at what he's basically trying to describe. Y'all guys can go over to his page and look at it. His birds are very, very consistent. They all is in extremely good health. They all look good, and that's why, like I said, I wanted to kind of get an idea because your birds look really good. They look really good. So I wanted to kind of get in your head a little bit and see kind of what you're thinking to produce those kind of birds, because a good looking bird ain't easy to produce. And I say that because they're not in everybody's yard. That's why I say that. They're not in everybody's yard. So if they was easy to produce, everybody would have them. But it's a reason why everybody doesn't have them, because they're not as easy to produce as people think they are. So, like I said, guys, I encourage y'all to go over to his page later today or tomorrow, whatever the case is, and just take a look at how his birds look, how consistent they are, and then now we have an idea and kind of getting into his head of what he thinks what it takes to produce that. So, we talked about the medium station. You do like to breed, streamlined birds and also big-breasted birds, just depending on what poultry show they're being bred for. Eye color is really not an important factor to you, but like you say, kind of how you was brought into the sport, you kind of just going by your teachings, basically how you were taught as far as on the eye. But your personal experience, you really don't kind of see too much of a difference, but you just kind of rolling in line with the way they have kind of taught you to, I guess, to grade it. So let's talk just a little bit about also too, I think you made a very good point that your brood cocks are pretty much birds that you bred and raised yourself, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah. A lot of after I got certain families and strands, I crossed different pure families together until I got them to basically how I wanted them.
Right.
So they're a mix of different families to my standards.
Right, mix of different things. So, and that's what gives you the opportunity to watch them from a chick to a cock age to determine. That helps you determine, who's going into that brood pen and who's not going into that brood pen by the stuff that you didn't seen over the last, say, 2 years. Correct?
Oh yeah. I mean, once you start breeding and you start getting them consistent, you pretty much know the outcome. Everything's going to start looking alike. Their weights is going to be right there, consistent. Everything. I had so many people come to my farm, by looking at my page and they're calling out, "Oh, that's one of your yellow leg hatches. Yep, that's one of your blue faces. Yep, it's all consistent. Everything looks the same."
Yep, that's exactly right. And it takes a lot. So tell me this, Anthony, and you're exactly right. That's why I encourage people to go over to your page so they can kind of see with their own eyes. So tell me this. I don't want to fast forward. Let's back up. Let's talk about the hen, and then we're going to talk about how you set those families, because I do want to talk about that. But you know what I'm saying? You get so excited in these interviews. I don't want to be just like jumping all around on all different topics. So we talked about how you the standards and stuff like that, or what you look for in your brood cocks. Just give us a little information about kind of what you take in consideration on your hens, and then obviously the viewers can go to your page and they can look at the outcome, the results of it. But what are some of the things you look for in brood hens?
Yeah, my hen, I want her to be feminine. I want her to be ladylike.
Simple.
That's
a great point.
Be
simple.
Yeah, I don't want her crowing. I don't want her acting like a male. I want her to be ladylike.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's funny that you say that, because you do see sometime coming up on Facebook, what y'all guys think about a hen that crow? And, obviously you'll have 300 different, comments on that. And some say go with it. Some say no. Some say they had great experience in it. Some say call that thing. But based on what you like, because it's all about what you like, you kind of like a feminine, ladylike hen that act like a hen. You don't want to bull nag a hen.
Right. Yeah. Be a hen. Be a female.
So you don't want no spur hen. You don't want no hen crowing. None of that, right?
Right. Yeah. I like me a good feminized hen.
Good. Do you like them? Well, and I guess, like I said, I know it's kind of hard to describe, but those are the characteristics. And also with your hens, do you monitor them from chick size on up to kind of help you determine who's going to be in that brood pen?
Oh yeah, they all get monitored. They all get looked at closely. Um,
Hmm.
like I said, it's heavy selection, heavy culling. Uh,
Hmm.
it for my standards, it has to be a good bird. It has to be a good looking bird, and it, like I said,
Hmm.
has to fit my qualities that I'm looking for.
Hmm. Hmm. So now we talked about that. Let's talk a little bit about now, or let's move on to the section of setting a family. Obviously, the birds that you have on your yard is a result of your choices, your selection, and your breedings. So, let's start to walk in on how you set that family, because you got them looking good. I like to
Right,
kind of get in your head, because that's a long process. That didn't happen overnight. That didn't happen in 2 years of time. That has taken many generations to get like that. So kind of
right.
walk us into, man, of, you know, the methods that you use. Like, do you use, line breeding? Do you use inbreeding? Do you do that, breeding down two lines of similar families and crossing them back together? What type of stuff do you mother to son and father to
Oh yeah,
daughter? What
yeah,
what your
yeah. You
methods
got
are?
yeah. You have to maintain families. You have to line breed and inbreed.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you get the traits, and that's how you lock in different genetics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
By line breeding and inbreeding. Um,
Right.
and like we talked about, it's the simple basic chart of mother to father, or father to mother.
Right.
Breed the father back to the daughters. You see
Right.
certain qualities or traits that you like. That's what you do to lock in the genes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So basically, you'll breed father to daughter, mother to son, that type of stuff.
Oh
You
yeah,
have done that. Okay.
oh yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah. I feel you have to.
Right. I kind of feel the same way too. And again, but it goes back, and I know you learned this as experience. All breeders don't work for everybody. And you talked about, like, if five people went to the same breeder, if you look at 5 years down the road, all of them are not going to be producing the same quality birds.
Right.
And everybody have their methods of breeding and stuff like that. But you said you like the father to daughter, you like the mother to son, because you feel as though that allows you to be able to lock in particular characteristics and genes that you're looking for, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. 100%.
Okay, so Anthony, tell me this. I'm assuming, and with the inbreeding and the line breeding, that's where the heavy culling comes into place, so the selection comes into place, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh, I call a lot. When you do line breeding or inbreeding, yeah, you're gonna get you're gonna get some stuff that you really have to get rid of. Um, and that's where you get some of your best brood stock, your best selection. It's not show selection that you're really going to
Right,
show, but you're just going to
right.
use it to keep the blood going.
Keep the blood going. Right, right, right. So tell me this. And you started out, what was it? Was it two families you started out with, or three families you started
I,
out
I
with?
I started out with two families. I started out with the blue
Okay,
faces and the Murphys, and then I acquired
okay.
other bloodlines through other breeders.
Right, right. As you went along. So
Right,
so basically in your yard right now is obviously your lines, and their result of, you would say, probably three different families that help you create that line, what you have on your yard right now.
yeah. Like I would have like I would on my Kilso families, I would purchase a brood cock from one breeder,
Mm-hmm.
some Kilso hens from another breeder,
Mm-hmm.
and trial and error. That's the only way
Right.
you're going to find out. You have to breed it to find out what it's going to do, and
That's
start from
right.
there. If
That's right.
if if I then once I sustain one proven family, if I added something else into it and it don't do right, then
Mm-hmm.
I dismiss of it, and I try another bloodline.
Right, right, right. So you, like you say, is trial and error. Is not cookie cutter. You don't know what you're going to get until you try it. That's pretty
Right,
much the bottom line.
right,
That's it. And you know what? That's to me encouraging and refreshing to hear a lot of times, because again, you're basically going on what you want to do. You're not allowing somebody else to tell you, don't do this, don't do that. Like, you know what? Let me just try this on my own and see what happens.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, trial and error. You can't listen to other people, people have other opinions. People breed differently. People look for different things. People look for different characteristics. It's
Hmm.
all on what fits you.
Right. It's all on what fits you. So that's how you've been running your breeding program, regardless of who you get them from. You do what I call research and development. You know what I'm saying? You do your
Right.
research, you put them in that brood pen. That's the development right there. And then you just see what they basically produce, and you make a decision from there if you're going to repeat that or if you're just going to go in a whole different direction.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I try to tell, the new guys, get from somebody. Don't get from the names that you heard, the old
Hmm.
names. Get from somebody that's competing at poultry shows and that are
Hmm.
are winning.
Hmm. Hmm. And the main reason for that is because you kind of want to get something that you know is still active, and you're able to see the kind of the characteristics and the qualities that you're looking for. You can kind of see that the birds are actually being producing that, or
Oh
at
yeah.
least actively. Go ahead, Anthony. I'm sorry I
Oh,
interrupted you.
yeah, yeah. Because the every year the quality and the birds just the athleticism just increases every year.
Hmm.
The birds get better and better every year. So
Hmm.
if you're not um, producing the quality birds that are being able to compete in today's you know uh,
Hmm.
shows, then you're not going to
Right.
make it.
Right. You're not going to make it. So you're constantly, every time you set a brood pen together, you're constantly basically trying to outdo the last year. Or
Always,
the last year. Always.
always, yeah,
Always.
yeah. Always trying to
Always.
outproduce. And that's what I love about it. I get a thrill. It pushes me to, man. I want this year to be better.
Right.
You always want better and better and better. And sometimes you hit that spell where it drops down that year. You done messed up, so you
Right.
gotta go back to the square root from the year before.
Right. And just go on from there. But no, that's amazing, because basically what it's doing is it's pushing you to try different things. I guess maybe adjust your selection process, all of that, to constantly keep improving. Is those the things that you have to kind of keep in mind? Like, okay, well, in order for me to get what I want, you may have to change your selection a little bit for the following year or the following breeding season, huh?
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And like I said, I had a gray family that I used to raise, and I ended up losing the some of my brood stock, so I had to breed brother and sister back together, and it didn't work. That was 10 years of a
And it
family
didn't work,
gone.
huh?
Mm-mm.
Wow. So
Yeah.
10 years you end up losing, and you tried to do a brother and sister, and you said it didn't work, huh?
Nah, it didn't work. Yeah, I lost some of my brood stock to a fox, and the only thing I had left was the brother and sister, and I tried to carry it on, and it didn't work.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So that's a line you basically lost, huh?
Yeah, gone. Yep, gone.
Wow, that is sucks, man. But I guess that's the game. That's the game. And like I say, I kind of still want to talk a little bit about, you do your selection. Um and just like a little recap, you know, when you're picking your brood stock, your hens and your cocks, these are birds that you're evaluating from a chick. There's multiple things you evaluate when it comes to picking your brood stock. You keep, you evaluate the conformation, but you also evaluate their attitude.
Right.
Well, I guess you could say temperament, attitude or temperament, however you want to say it. But the attitude of temperament, you said you don't like your cocks doing real crazy stuff in the pen, chasing their tail, dirtying up the water bowls, all erratic or anything like that. You kind of like maybe like I would say, more of a calm type brood cock, right? Not a high strung one.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a high strung one, but he's not doing dumb
Hmm.
stuff. You know,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Right. Um, so tell me this. So now we got to the brood print selection. You talked about how you select your brood cock. Talked about how you select your hens. Um, and you also talked about what methods you use, what breeding methods you use. You do use inbreeding. You also use line breeding because you feel as though that's what you need to do to lock in certain characteristics and certain genes in a line. And then
Right.
what you do is you can continue on breeding that until you see some consistency. That's when you got the family locked in, correct?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Got you. Got
Once you lock that family in and they're showing and producing, like you expect, then that's when you can
Right,
take a stag. You could take you a nice stag and he got nice confirmation and
right.
they're producing and they're exactly what you're looking for, and you just take that stag and you just breed them right over top of whatever you need to breed them over top of.
Got you. That's a good point, and that's what I wanted to get to make sure that we covered. So basically, you're not really breeding stags until you got that family locked in. And
Exactly.
the way you determine you got that family locked in is you need to see them birds coming out consistently. Somebody could be able to walk to the yard and say, "Those are your blue faces."
Right.
When you able to hear that from a stranger that's walking off and saying, "Boom, I know," or say those 20 you got running down that road right there, they all look the same. You saying in the
Right.
back of your mind, I know I got that thing locked in now because
Yeah.
they didn't all come from the same hatch. They ain't all come from the same hatch. They ain't all come from the same brood cock, but they all still look the same,
They
basically.
look the same, right? Yeah. So being consistent on the looks and showing, you got to.
Right.
That's the biggest part.
That's the biggest part. That's the biggest part. But to start out, like you say, confirmation does play a huge role based on what poultry shows they showing in, because confirmation goes back and it is a direct relationship to their ability. Like you said, a boxer with long arms, a boxer with short arms is all going to be in a relationship of how their body is built based on their capabilities.
Right. 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 Right.
So you said once you get that family locked in, you're comfortable then using a stag in a breeding process because, like I say, it been consistently producing. They all looking the same. They all acting the same, and then that's only when you're comfortable with breeding a stag. But up until then, they have to be cocks. Correct?
Correct. Correct.
Got you. Got you. See, these are all very, very, I think, extremely important points. I know a lot of people watching may already know this, but I promise you there's more people watching who don't. But that's a very good determining factor. If you ever think about breeding stags before you breeding a cock, make sure if you start breeding stags, make sure you breeding stags from a family that's been locked in and consistently producing. Because other than that, you don't really know what that stag gonna produce.
Exactly.
So now we talked about the breeding, we talked about the selection, how you select. Let's move on to the breeding process. Do you use natural hatch or incubators?
I use incubators. People
Okay.
tell me, oh, it's better to hen hatch. The hen hatches. What I haven't seen no difference in a hen hatch and an incubator. They
Okay.
there's no different. I mean, of course the hen, she is Mother Nature, and she's going to regulate the eggs, and she's going to do
Right.
all that better than we can. But as
Right.
far as the producing of the stags and the showing of the stags, there's
Right.
no difference.
Right. Gotcha. Gotcha. So you saying basically the end product result from what you seeing is, you don't really see a difference in a hen hatch versus an incubator hatch when it comes to the end result. Um,
Right.
and basically, like you saying with Mother Nature, you might see a little difference in the chicks growing up or anything like that. She's teaching them different things that they're not learning in incubator or whatever. But at the end of the day, when showtime come, you're not really seeing a difference in a hen hatch or either incubator hatch.
No, no difference. Yeah, there's no
Gotcha.
difference.
Got you. So Anthony, let's start to talk about then. Since you do use the incubator, can you kind of walk us through, your first week, your first 2 weeks, your first month? Like, do you first of all vaccinate?
Nah, I don't. I got, like I said, I got a small farm, so I haven't come to the point where I had to really vaccinate.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I just use my standard medications, but no vaccination, not yet
No
anyway.
vaccination. Right, right, got you. As far as your chicks, what type of feed do you start them off with, medicated or unmedicated?
Unmedicated. Whenever you're using other medications,
Hmm.
uh, I, I haven't seen good results with the medicated feed with using other medications. Um,
Got
but
got
it
you. So,
starts it starts off with healthy chicks. Um,
hmm
there's one thing that I do. I'm a yard fanatic.
hmm
If you see my farm, I love green grass. I love
right,
everything with my soil.
right,
People say, "Oh, you do late hatches." Well, I
hmm
determined that from my yard, what I
hmm
do is I test the pH levels in my soil, and when my pH
wow,
yes, when my pH levels are regulated, they're a little higher, I produce
hmm
better stags.
wow. So that's a tidbit right there. So you actually get your soil tested, and based on the pH level, kind of determines you can kind of determine on, you know, I guess you can say what the end product would be, but the condition of the birds based on the pH level that you're reading through your test, huh?
Right. Yeah. Whenever your pH levels is right, they're less prone to get a lot of the diseases, a lot of the bacteria. Because whenever you got good pH level, it fights off a lot of the bacteria. Um,
That's exactly right. That's a very,
yeah.
very good point.
So
So tell me this, Anthony, and not to interrupt you. With the pH, is that something somebody taught you, or is it something you know from a different type of field of work that you in? Like, what made you start testing pH levels in the dirt?
whenever it's like the circle of life. Whenever you got good pH levels, everything
Hmm.
grows like it's supposed to, and when
And
it's
same
grown
thing with
like
your
it's
human body.
right, right. And when it's grown like it's supposed to, you got the bugs on the yard. They're going to be good
Hmm.
because they getting what they need. So when the chicks are eating them,
That's
like I
right.
said, it's circle of life. The good
That's
pH
right.
level, your pH level is good. Your chicks is going to grow big and healthy.
Wow, that's a very, very good point, and something that we have never talked about on a show thus far is the pH level. So tell me this, um, since that's a big determining factor, you get your pH level tested. Now, what happens? Say, is it any particular thing that you do to the yard to keep the pH levels where you like it, or is you just let nature, be nature? If it's high this year and low next year, it is what it is.
No, I usually use a pH balancer. I aerate my yard, use a
Okay.
pH balancer, um, water the grass, and
Hmm.
it starts the process. Like I said, I've hatched chicks, did the early hatch, and I didn't
Hmm.
see them as healthy and strong as when I checked my pH level and started hatching chicks at that time. They grow bigger, they grow big.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, guys, that's something that y'all guys definitely need to take heed to, because again, me personally, and talking to people, I really never heard anybody talking about the pH level. But you 1000% correct, because that pH level is the same thing with our diet, the food that we
Right,
put in our own body. Different types of fruits and vegetables have different pH levels, and you are 1000% correct. But you saying, so basically what you do is, you check that, and from experience, I guess your earlier ones that you hatch with the pH levels not that high, they got, they grow a certain type of way. But
right,
then later on, later on in the year when the pH level was good, you realize that your chicks were healthier, strong, and everything. But it goes back to, like you said, the bugs are more healthier, the worms or whatever they eat, everything is more healthier. The grass is more
right,
healthy, everything.
right.
Wow,
Yep.
that is it. Well, tell me this though. So, and I don't know all about the dirts and all that, so I'm asking you so I can educate myself on it. So, if I wanted to test my pH level in my dirt on the yard, like, does Home Depot sell a pH kit or something like that, or is it something you got
Yeah,
to
you
send
can.
off?
Yeah, you can go to a hydroponic grow store or organic grow store, and you can get a pH
Okay,
leveler. and test the your pH levels.
Gotcha, man. That's some now that right there, brother, was some good information because I can tell you right now, that's good, and I'm pretty sure there's other guys probably out there already doing it. But guys, if you have never done that before, I think that's a jewel because again, if you do your research on the pH for what Anthony's talking about, that is a big part of the circle of life, and it also applies not only to dirt and animals, but it also applies to us as human beings. So he said that he's okay with hatching late because he has found out from his personal research that his dirt has higher pH levels later on in the year, and he's able to late hatch and have some pretty strong chicks based on
Right.
that. Wow, that right there. I never thought about that but you know what's so amazing that you say that? Because I have heard a lot of guys late hatch and say, "Oh, my birds are small because they were a late hatch." Have you ever heard that before?
Oh yeah, I hear it all the time.
Okay. I'm just saying. I just want to make sure I wasn't the only person hearing it. But, and no telling what we can't sit up here and try to determine on why they birds are small
You
because
know,
we all go back.
different terrain. Different terrain, different
Right.
soil, different weather. All that plays a key factor too. So some guys might not do good on late hatches and might do better on early hatches.
Right. That's great. And again, like you say, it can be a combination of different terrain, different parts of the country you in, and all states don't have the same dirt. Kentucky dirt is different from Georgia dirt. So
Right.
you're exactly right. But hey, one of the good things about what you said, regardless of what terrain they in, guys, I still encourage you to go out and try to do some research on the dirt that you do have in your state. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it might not be the same dirt as Anthony have, but you still can go to what's the name of that store you said, or what's the name of the place you can go? Hydrosonic.
It's a hydroponic or organic grow store. Where you grow
Okay,
your
so
like organic tomatoes and stuff like that.
right. So guys, I mean, look into that. Google it. If you don't know one off the top of your head, Google a store or a place in your area and take some of your dirt there. You'll probably be amazed at what you'll learn about your dirt. And I'm pretty sure those stores or those locations can give you an education of, what you can probably do to the dirt or what to expect from the dirt or what's the average pH level for that dirt in that state. That's a really good, that's something I have never even thought about, dude. I honestly never even thought about that dirt and that pH level. That's
Yeah.
kind of why I asked you, like, where you even learn that from? Like, what made you even think about that? Dude, there's
It works.
always something to learn in these interviews, man. That's why I say I like to talk to people from all different diverse backgrounds. All y'all guys are good at what y'all do. And that's why I like to pick y'all guys' brains, to find out, hey man, how you get this end result? You know what I'm saying? Let's walk through this from the ground floor. And again, this is the first time. Not saying anybody else on the show has never done it before, but this is the first time we're being educated on his pH level and how the effects were on your game foul. But then also, too, you open up another can of worms with, hey, go to these locations and get your dirt tested and then talk to them about it. And they can probably tell you some more about the soil in your area, what to expect from it, or what's the average pH level. So that's some good information, dude. I don't know if you realize it, man, but I promise you a lot of people who's watching this, that never crossed their mind. That never crossed their mind. That's a good one there. So guys, again, that's why it's always good to relook at these interviews. But that is a jewel right there. And I promise you that can make a difference in your breeding program. Just by getting educated on the quality of your dirt, if there's anything that you can do to increase the pH level in your dirt, or just even knowing, how high the pH level in your dirt can kind of give you determination of how the chicks are going to grow up on it, on that piece of property, right?
Right. Oh yeah. Try it. It works.
That's a good one right there. I'm gonna take that all the way back to Puerto Rico, man. I don't know if you can really test sand, but hey, I might go down there with a bag of sand, be like, hey, can you test it? Can you test it? Like, dude, You know, you got sand in your hand. That's not dirt. Oh, I don't know. I'm just coming down. I don't know. Well, guys, listen. I mean, that's a good one. So not only do from what Anthony is saying, the pH level, how it indirectly even affects the chicks is because it affects all the other little critters, the little bugs and the insects and all that kind of stuff that's growing up on that land. They're eating the pH, or they eating the dirt, or living in the dirt with the pH. So when the chicks eat those bugs, or the stag eat those bugs or whatever, they just absorbing exactly what the bugs are absorbing. So
Right.
it's not like your chicks are running around eating dirt. They just eating the things that's living in the dirt.
Right. Exactly.
That's good right there. That is good. And like I say, guys, and I'm pretty sure I have seen some comments where some guys have done it and stuff like that. But Anthony, later on after the interview, if you can get in the comment section and kind of, talk a little bit about answer some of those questions, that'd be great.
Right.
So now y'all guys, he talked about, he doesn't use medicated. He used regular feed because he do use some other medications within his regimen for his chick. So he don't basically want to put medication on top of medication, right? Like a
Right.
medicated. Right. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I try to stick to a schedule. I used
Right.
the Rick Hurst program, which I used to use all the old methods. And I feel like there's different viruses
Mhm.
and different bacterias and stuff that the old way just doesn't work. Kind of like it's mutated.
Yep.
So now we have to use other things that to counter that.
That's exactly right. And it has mutated. Some of that stuff that worked on certain type of worms ain't working on worms no more. And the companies that's producing these
Right.
products, they know that. So that's why they constantly making adjustments within their program, because that stuff is mutating and being immune to it and stuff like that.
Right.
So you said on your chick program, you kind of run a regimen that Rick Hurst kind of recommend, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, it works. It works for me. Yeah, it works for me. I stick to the
Right.
same schedule. For a long time, like I said, I was using the old methods, and I was having problems with chicks, and especially when your farm grows a little bit, that's when you start seeing the problems. You really don't see it too much when it's real small, but you will start seeing problems as you produce
Right.
more fowl. You'll get them diseases and stuff
Right.
start coming up, and you use medication to kind
Right.
of prevent it or to treat it.
Mhm. So you base it all about the prevention. It's better to prevent it than to
Right.
have to try to fix it.
Right, and it comes from
Gotcha.
trial. It comes from trial and error. I was having some
Hmm.
problem. I went to Jason Daniels' house, and we was talking about a certain disease, certain virus, bacteria, whatever you want to call it, that was going on,
Hmm.
and he kind of elaborated. We was having the same problem, and
Hmm.
we kind of got down to the point, where it was this certain kind of medication that you can use to prevent
Hmm.
it from happening, because it was like, man,
Right.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. And, that's when I called Rick, and, I was letting Rick know, hey, man, this is what's going on. And he
Right.
said, well, feel the bird, pick up the chick, how does it feel? And we got the issue resolved quick. So now I know what to look for. And like I said, trial and error. When
Right.
you run into a situation, you see how the chicks look or how they act, and
Right.
when you run into that situation again, you know exactly what to do or what to give them. Even though you're using
Right.
preventative medicines, it
Hmm.
still happens. It shows
It's
up.
still. That no, that's exactly right. So and like you say, it all depends on the farm size too. Because like you say, when you were smaller, there's a lot of things that you didn't really have to deal with. But as you grew, you started to deal with certain things. Like, hold on, I'm doing the same thing that I always been doing. Now why? Now I'm
Yeah,
having sick chicks. I'm having this. I'm having that. Like, what's going on here? And it's just nature, I guess it would say. I guess it's just nature. Once you start
yeah,
getting more birds and all that is, I don't know. I don't think any of us can always have an answer to what nature is nature. So things
yeah,
start happening. Like you say, you just use trial and error to try to adjust to it and to try to deal with it. But you
right,
do know as you start growing, you start having issues that you really never had from the beginning, or
right.
say when you were smaller,
Right,
right?
right, right, right. Yeah, and like I said, you got this. when you run into them issues, there are just sometimes where you just have to cull. You know, you just have to start
Right.
culling stuff. You know, you run into them
Right.
situations sometimes instead of just trying to save everything. You know, sometimes you just got to cull. You can't take everything, but you know, cull it. It'll save you in the
Right.
long run. You'll
Right.
want,
Right.
you know,
And
you go to a poultry show, and you're trying to figure out, well, what happened to this bird or why? Well, it was from that disease or virus that he had when he was a chick, and now it's showing
mm-hmm.
up. It never went away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a very, very good point. So yeah, so like you say, you do the preventive. You will doctor up on them some, but then it's also it gets to a point with you where you say, hold on, we just got to call this. You know, I'm not,
Right.
it's just certain. You're gonna go to a certain level. You're not gonna sit up there and have a whole big hospital, but you just
Nah.
also not gonna walk through the yard and just start culling everything just because it got a droopy head.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, you can't do that.
Right. Well, I think, like I say, I think that makes a lot of sense because you're just staying open minded with it, and you're basically, adapting to the situation as it come, and then applying what you think is the best method. Okay, preventative, a little bit of medication, or I just go ahead and need to cut it. So you got to kind of determine that based on your situation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the way it works.
Right. That's right. That's right. So tell me this, because I know we did have Rick on the show. I'm gonna bring him back on the show because I had him on the show a couple years ago when the little screen was small, so you really couldn't even see his face. He was up in the top, the top right hand corner. So it really wasn't a really good interview, but it was some great information. Um, so tell us a little bit about. I know Rick talked about he put certain things in their water and stuff like that. You know, Tell us a little bit about, what size brooders do you have and what kind of setup do you have with your brooders?
My brooders, I have standard brooders. They're 4x8s.
Okay.
It's got I use the uh, kind of like the vinyl pallets
Okay.
with smooth bottoms, so I can clean it,
Okay.
Clorox it. Um, once I get them out the incubator, I put them into the brooders. From the
Okay.
brooders, the next step, I take them outside, and I have another, off the ground pen to kind of let them get the air because they're indoors.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I turn them loose on the yard. I put them. I
Right.
do the same, like Claude and talked about as far as the box.
Right.
Um, that was a good pointer that I got from Jason as well. He showed me
Right.
the method of that, and it works.
It worked, huh?
It works, yeah, it works. And one of the key factors that he was talking about, whenever you got that wire on the bottom and
Mm-hmm.
that their poop will build up.
Right.
If you're not moving it, if you're not lifting the brooder up and removing the poop from up underneath of it, the bees will
Right.
suffocate.
Gotcha. Got it, because it ain't no airflow coming from up
Right,
under there.
right, yeah. Because sometimes people say, "Oh man, they're stacking on top of each other." So if
Right.
if that happens in there and they're stacked a little bit, they can still breathe
Right.
from the bottom.
Got you. That's a good point. No, you 100% right. Because in that stacking, a lot of them get crushed or suffocated, one or the other.
Right,
But you're saying with the way those brooders are set up, as long as you keep that poop and stuff down to a minimum, even if they are down, if they're not getting crushed, you ain't got to worry about them being suffocated because they still can get up some fresh flowing air from up underneath.
right, right, right. Yeah, and I seen one guy. He was asking the question, what kind of light do you put in there?
Hmm.
We don't put, at that point they don't need no light. Um,
Okay.
Once they go in that box at night, let them rest. You tend to put a light in there. They kind of bundle up and they start that feather picking.
Got you. Got you. Yeah, I seen that question earlier, and I'm glad you talked about that. So you said, you don't, when they get outside, they done with all that lighting and all that kind of stuff out there. So, but if you do put it on them out there, you might actually create a problem,
Yeah, big problem.
a big
Hmm.
problem. Tell me this, just to reverse a little bit on the brooder in the inside. Do you use a light inside of that one? And if you do, what color? Because I know
Yeah,
some guys. Mhm.
I use a light. I usually use the red heat light, and then as they get
Okay.
bigger, I kind of convert it to they start getting little feathers on them. I convert it to,
Right.
I take the heat off of them and I convert it to
Okay.
a green light.
A green light.
Yeah, I go to a green light. It some people use the green light, blue light. I use just a regular green LED light.
Right.
It kind of mellows them down and keeps them from being real high strung and real active in there. When them chicks get
Mm,
real active, they get bored and then you get feather picking again.
right. That's exactly right. So that makes so how long do you pretty much keep them in that brooder there? Couple weeks or
Yeah, I keep them in there probably about 3-4 weeks till they get their good feathers on them, and then that's when
okay.
I send them outside.
Okay, you send them outside. And how long, and I know kind of Claude and them talked about that yesterday about being outside. So how long um do you have that system where you kind of lock them in there a little bit? Well, you said the first day or so like that to get them air, you kind of lock them in that box outside first or no?
Uh, yeah, I do. I lock them in the box. I leave them in there for a couple of days. Let them
Okay.
let them know, hey, this is where I'm eating. This is where I'm getting my water. This is kind of
Mm-hmm.
home.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they get used to going into that facility, that's where they feel
Right.
safe. That's where they feel safe. Um,
Right.
then you open that box up, and at nighttime, they go right back in there and rest.
Gotcha. 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 Okay, so you leave them when you shift them, and I'm asking because I see a couple people in the comment section was asking that. So when you first put them inside that box, you keep them in there for a couple days so they can get acclimated and start to get a mental note that hey, this is where we sleep, this is where we get our water and all that kind of stuff inside there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
After that time, once I release them, I take their water
mhm.
and feed out, and I put their water and feed in their surroundings.
Okay, because that was gonna be my next question. After once you start letting them out, do you continue to leave the feed and water in there? But you don't. So once you start letting them out to do their free ranging during the day, you also then at that point take their food and water out of the brooder and put it out in the surrounding area. With I guess they'll be free ranging.
Right. 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 Yeah. Which I seen a good
Oh,
point from Claude. He puts a trap at the front of his, which I
right.
ran into a problem before. The hole was just a little too big, and a fox got in there and
What?
wiped me out.
Yeah, that is crazy. You said the hole was just a little too big,
Yeah, the
and a
hole was
fox
big.
crawled up
Yeah.
in there and had a buffet, huh?
Yeah. It should- Man, I was
All
sick.
you can eat. He went in there with all you can eat, and he didn't even have to pay. He went in and all
Right.
you can eat and didn't have to pay. Why? So tell me this. With that happening with you, what adjustments did you make? Like, did you make like a 4-inch size hole, or you know what I mean? Like, what
Yeah,
size was it that fox snuck his little behind up in there?
yeah. Cliff, Adrian Red Cliff, he has a
Okay,
real small hole. It's like looks like a 4 or 5 inch hole, and that's the same size hole that I use. Uh,
right.
that Fox, he can squeeze through some stuff. I guess that's why Claude, he's got that trap right there.
That's right. That's right, man. That's funny though. But again, guys, understand. Like Anthony said, your hole can be a little. You might think is that's small, but like he said, foxes can squeeze through all kinds of stuff. And the worst thing you want to do is come out there and realize that a fox done crawled up in your darn brooder and had a feast, and he's at it, and you looking crazy. So you said you went down to the smaller 4 or 5 inch hole. If a fox crawl up in that thing, then it's almost like just let them have them. Like Jesus
Yeah,
Christ, you must have been starving.
yeah.
So there is no door on it, or do you use that trapping system that Claude uses?
No, I use a door. Usually when they go in at night, I go in there and I close the door. When I get
Okay,
up in the morning, I release them in the morning. Let them free
okay,
range.
okay, okay.
I
Let them
do that
free
until
range
they
throughout the
start.
day.
Yeah, I do that till they start, going into the trees.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Um, and I want to just bring up one tidbit before we move on because I still want to stay on the chicks, but we out there they free ranging right now. Now with they free ranging, what kind of dogs you have? Predator control. You got any dogs? Anything out
Yeah,
there?
I have the Great Pyrenees. I
Okay,
have three. Yeah, I have three Great Pyrenees. And when they're from trial and error, the Pyrenees, when he's a pure Pyrenees, when they're
Hmm.
young, you had to kind of break them, you know.
Hmm.
They get a little feisty. They want to be nosy. They want to pull on water cups. And
Hmm.
you got to, once you break them dogs out of that habit, they
Right,
become real good dogs.
right. But it's a little work to get them kind of where you need them to
Yeah,
be at the ain't like they just born with the instinct of not to do that. So they basically being puppies, basically.
puppies, right, right. They're being puppies, and if you don't stop them as a puppy, you know, start them as a puppy, then they'll carry it on through adulthood.
Right. And then that's when there's a major problem. You don't put all that time and effort in it. Then you got to get rid of him when he
Right,
12 months old or 11 months old and is like, now I'm back to the drawing board with another puppy.
right, right. Start all back over.
Got to start our back over. Okay,
Hmm.
so let's go ahead and keep moving. So we got the chicks out there. They're out there free ranging. The feed in the water is outside. They are going back to the brooder at the end of the night. What age have you seen where they start sleeping up in the trees, and this way you can kind of take that brooder away?
Uh, Different ages. I mean, I've seen them at a couple months old. You know, start
Hmm.
roosting in trees. Then
Hmm.
you'll see them. Some of them that just start keep laying on the ground. It takes a little longer for them to catch on.
Right,
Um, 2, 3 months old.
right.
I mean, whenever they're running with hens, they tend to go in
Hmm.
the trees sooner. To follow the mother in the
Okay,
tree. So that's
okay,
that's one good reason to have hens have the hen running with the biddies. And I tend to
okay.
do that sometimes as well. Sometimes I call them dummy hens. I have
Hmm.
uh I have about 12 pens lined up with dummy hens in
Hmm.
them. When they lay eggs and go
Hmm.
to sitting, I try to set my incubator. At the same time that hen's supposed to hatch off, I put good
Right,
eggs up underneath of her, and mark the biddies or whatever. And
right.
when she hatches the eggs and the incubator hatches, I kind of mutate the biddies with her, and she raises them up.
Got you. So that's a strategy that you use. So guys, that's a very good point. So what Anthony likes to do, he said he got the dummy hens, and he tried to time his incubator hatching with the time that the dummy hens is probably going to be hatching. So this way you can kind of bring those incubator hatches out there with those dummy hens, and they figure that I didn't, these are kind of like my chicks because I didn't just hatch some chicks, so it's very easy
Right,
for her to kind of adopt them, huh?
right. Yeah, and it don't work like that all the time because sometimes you don't
Right.
have a hen that starts sitting when you need to put eggs in the incubator. But whenever I do get a chance to do that, I will do that.
Right. That's a good well again, that's another good strategy. And that's something that you kind of learn. So, if you can, that's a good point to try to if it's possible to try to set your incubator kind of on the same timeline that the hen starts sitting, because that may be a foster hen that you can use by the time your eggs hatch. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. And I guess it's always good if you can have a hen to run around with them biddies because they do teach them a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
They teach them different things. Um, and you said basically from your experience, you've seen like the biddies that kind of run around with the hen tends to fly up in the trees a little bit sooner, huh?
Oh yeah. I mean, real early age. They get in them trees.
They get in them trees early. Wow. So so we got them running around. They're running around. Some is going to be with a foster hen if possible. Some not. They're running around. You got their food out. You got the water out. Let's talk about now that they're free ranging. Have you changed their food yet, or are you still feeding them what you fed them in a brooder?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are you changing up the feed?
Yeah, for when they're on the yard running a little bit, I give them the chick feed, and then I start
Okay.
transitioning. I take the gamecock and I grind
Okay.
it up real fine and kind of mix it
Okay.
to kind of introduce them to the gamecock. And
Okay.
then once they start eating it real good, then I just give them straight out gamecock. Then once they hit a certain age, I won't even grind it up no more. I just I throw it out and let them eat all they want.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
It,
So,
it,
so, mhm,
in the process, while they're running, I use dog food. I soak dog food. I soak vitamins in the dog food, and I let them eat all they want.
Oh, so when they're out there free ranging and young, you like to also feed them the soaked dog food with vitamins.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Wow, I bet you that keeps a good body on them, huh?
yeah. It helps worm them too. You take the worm and you soak it in the dog food. You take
Hmm.
vitamins, soak it into the dog food, and they get what they need.
Right, right. A way for them to get what they need. So, I mean, that's another good method. Um, so he talked about the feed. He do feed the chick feed, and then he tried to transition with mixing the gamecock feed in with the chick feed, but he do grind it. He just don't
Right,
scoop it out the bag and throw it in there and mix it up. You do grind it and mix it up with the chick feed, right?
right. Yeah, I grind it up as fine. Not too fine, but I try to grind it up the same size as the chick feed.
Got you. Got you. And then when you feed them that chick feed, you still make that soaked dog food available throughout the
Oh
yard.
yeah, oh yeah. The dog food is available all the time. They can
Oh,
eat
the
it all
dog
they
food's
want.
available all the time.
Yeah, and
Okay.
the dog food's expensive, but I got a good buddy that looks out for me on the dog food. So I'm
Hmm.
able to give them the dog food.
Okay. Anthony, is there any particular like dog food or protein level or anything like that, or you just a dog food you can get a good deal
Nah,
on?
just yeah, just the dog food I can get a good deal on.
Hmm.
Sometimes it comes 15% protein up to 30% protein. They're
Hmm.
running the yard. They're going to get what they need.
Hmm.
Um, you just let them be babies.
Right, right, right. So tell me this, Anthony. When you said it helps with the worming and stuff like that. So what's around the first time that you give? How old are they when you give them their first worming?
You breaking up?
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. What was you
Okay.
saying?
And I said, yeah. So you said, you also add wormer and stuff like that in the soaked dog food. So at what age, do the chicks get their first worming?
Like I said, I got it on my Rick Hurst schedule that I
Okay.
just been working with, the past few years.
Okay.
Everything's scheduled down. I think it's 20, 32 to 32 days to 50, the 32 to 33 days. It's a 2 day. You give it to them for two
Got
days, and then
Okay.
once I reach the end of the schedule or their last wormer, then it's once a
Hmm.
month.
Then it's once a month. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Then it's once a month. Okay. So, um, we went through that part. So now that the chicks are out free ranging, obviously they're growing older. Like you say, you transition them as they get a little older to just a regular gamecock. You always make the soaked dog food available out there on the yard. So obviously, is get to a point where the stags start acting up. Let's start to talk a little bit about setup. Do you use tie cords, pins? Let's talk a little bit about the setup. Obviously, I guess you take the stags to a pin, right?
Oh yeah. I got stag pins that I use. A smaller size pin.
Okay.
Um, my I don't have a tie cord yard quite available right now, so most of my stuff is
Okay.
pins. Um,
Okay.
but I,
Okay.
I I got the smaller stag pins, and then my cocks and stuff. I tend to have like the mini fly pins.
Okay. I got you. I got you. So tell me this: do you use any type of bedding or anything inside of your pens?
Yeah, like I said, my soil, man, I have real good what you would call topsoil. It's real black,
Got
real
you.
rich. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's not it's not prone to mites. When I spray, I may
Mm-hmm.
spray once or twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as my bedding, I use there's a farm down from me, and I use a horse manure.
Okay. So you do use
Yeah,
horse manure, huh?
yeah. So what the guy, he usually spreads the horse manure in the field and kind of dries it out a little bit, and then he scoops
Right.
it out, rakes it all back up, and that horse manure, it's loaded full of grubs. I mean, white grubs.
So you put the horse manure inside your pens, huh?
Oh yeah. I use horse manure because some people use sand because you might get a lot of water or moisture, but my land don't hold water, so it's not really wet and muddy, and it's a good piece of land.
Gotcha, gotcha. So it allows you to use horse manure, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in that horse manure that they can benefit from.
Oh yeah, Oh, there's a lot in that horse manure as well.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I know the doctor came on and talked about the huge benefits of that horse manure. He always recommend, putting some, even if you mix it with sand, horse manure and sand, but he always recommend that horse manure.
Oh yeah, you can tell a difference. As soon as you put that horse manure in there, within a couple of days, their head is super cherry red.
Get out of here! See, I never had a bird of horse manure, but you saying as short as a couple days, you can actually see the difference in the fowl being in that horse manure, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. Their heads are cherry red, and you can see the blood, going through the legs be dark red.
Wow. He even talked about when the horses pee on the manure, it actually even acts like as a wormer because it's like acidicity or something like that. From the pee mixed with the horse manure. He said it's almost like a natural wormer too for the roosters.
Oh wow, that might be part of why they have the cherry red heads.
Yeah, he talked
There's
about
a
that
lot
in,
in
in
there.
his interview. A lot in it. That's amazing. So you saying, man, you put that horse manure in there, and about 3 or 4 days, you actually even see a difference in the fowl, huh?
Oh yeah, big difference. I mean, the way they act and everything.
Well, tell me this though. Do they tend to scratch a lot when they in that manure?
Oh yeah, they scratch. Yeah, they scratch more as if you was putting, straw or hay in there. They're digging. They're trying to find it. There's so many grubs in that horse manure I get, even after they scratch all the horse manure out, they're still digging. They're like, where's
They
that
still
grub?
digging. Well, tell me this. That's a good point. And the reason why, I'm glad you're talking about this. And I asked you the reason why, if they scratched or not, because I hear some people say, oh, if they scratch too much, they're going to lose breasts and they're going to do this and they do that. But you're saying that your bird's as healthy as I don't know what once you put that
Yeah,
horse manure in there, huh?
yeah. I usually don't. I know people tend to move their roosters around a lot, but I don't.
Hmm.
And when I don't move them around, they kind of adjust to the other bird. They know they're not going nowhere, so they're not as
Right.
high strung, pacing
Active.
pin, all that good stuff.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I've seen a couple of interviews where guys say they don't move the pins because
Hmm.
my birds get. I mean, it gets to the point my birds get so much that they need that there's sometimes grass is growing inside the pen because they're not eating the grass.
Gotcha. 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 So, well, that's a very, very good point. And guys, and basically what he's saying is, even though they got the horse manure in there, they are scratching and stuff like that. But they're not scratching because they're trying to get to the other rooster because they already acclimated that the bird. They know they're not getting to that bird after they've been in there 8 or 9 days. They done
Yeah.
paced and paced and paced. They know they're not getting to that bird. But even with them digging and digging in the manure, there's no negative effects on their body, is it? You don't feel them
Mm,
losing breasts or anything
mm,
like that, do
no, here lately I've been adjusting my feet. I've been going to I went to Cliff's house and I'm like, man, his birds feel so good compared to mine feel so fat. So I kind of adjusted on my feet a little bit, but nah, they weren't losing nothing.
they wouldn't lose? You said they was actually a little heavy on the heavy side, huh?
Yeah, yeah, mine was on a little heavy side. I'm trying to, adjust my feet.
Well, at least they're not losing no breasts because of all that scratching. Because I'm
Nah.
pretty sure when they jump in that manure, they scratch. They going to town in that thing, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah. They're not scratching as if you was putting them when you put another rooster beside them and you put
Hmm.
fresh straw in there and they're just scratching,
Hmm.
they're working, they're not really working.
Right.
They're actually just scratching, looking for the grub, looking for the food,
Right.
looking for the minerals, looking for whatever is in there that they want.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Okay, I got you. Well, guys, like Anthony said, he's not really set up on a tie court setup. All his birds are in pens. And he don't really move his pens around. He has that luxury because obviously the location he's on, it doesn't hold a lot of water and stuff like that. So he's able to get away with putting the manure in there. Don't have to worry about moving the pens. And between the manure and the feed, a lot of these birds you said don't even be eating the grass, huh?
Right, right. Yeah, they don't even eat the grass, so I had to usually spray weed killer around the pens, um, to kind of kill the grass out. They're not eating it. Back when I first started raising, they would always eat all the grass around the edge of it. It would always be gone.
Right.
But once I
Right.
figured out different supplements and my feeding and all that, it's like they really didn't pay the grass no mind in.
Right. So that tells you right there they was getting everything because people always say rooster know what they need. Rooster knows what they body need. Well, obviously, if they ain't eating that grass, they must be getting everything that they need between that manure and between that feed. They good to go.
Right. Yeah, alfalfa pellets, man, is a real good supplement. Kind of helps with that as well.
Okay, the alfalfa there, that's something that Claude talked about too. That's what he had. He got the sand inside the sand bedding because of where he's located inside the pens. But he said that alfalfa pellet works out pretty good for him.
It does.
Um, it does, huh? You see a
Hmm.
difference.
Oh yeah.
But tell me this: have you always kept your birds in that manure? How you turn
Oh
on to that?
yeah, like I said, everybody around me, family, friends, they
Okay, I got you.
everybody's in this, and they always
Got you.
go to the farm and get manure, and I'm like, manure,
Right,
it
right.
works, it works,
It works. It works. So you kind of seen everybody else doing the same thing. So you're like, okay, well, let me
right?
give this a try because I'm looking how healthy they birds are looking. That manure must work.
Yeah,
Um, that is pretty cool, man. Because like I say, man, it's a lot of, and I'm sure a lot of guys out there have access to it and probably never thought about it. And then again, like Anthony said, it's all also based on your situation. His lot of land doesn't hold a lot of water. It has really good topsoil, really good rich topsoil. So that situation works for him. Is a little different than what Claude did yesterday. His situation, he liked to use the sand. But you heard it first as far as the benefits, the health benefits to that manure. The health benefits to their body. He said cherry red heads. You can see the blood running through their legs. And then it is even a point where they might even get a little heavy on the heavy side from what they getting at, the nutrients they getting out of that manure.
right.
So now we to the pen. So with the stags, let's talk about the stags since we on the stags right now. You also said you have fly pens also.
Nah, I don't have no fly pins.
Okay, you don't have any fly pens.
I have the kennel set up, like dog kennels.
Okay,
Yeah, that I keep all
okay,
my brood material and all that stuff in the fly pens. I meant
and the
uh
fly.
dog kennels.
Okay, I got you. I got you. Yeah, I seen pictures of them, the dog kennel. So, um, let's talk a little bit about because you said your stags are pretty much in the same size pens as your cocks, or do you have different size pens?
I have two different size pens. I have the 40 by 40 by 40s, and then I have the mini fly pens. They're
Okay.
they're 40 by 5 foot by 5 foot tall.
Okay. So most of your cocks kind of stay in those pins, and the stags stay in the other pins, right?
Yeah,
The
because
40 by 40s.
yeah, stags is kind of harder to keep the bodies on them. So you keep them in a
Hmm.
smaller pen, less work. Your cocks, they tend to easier to pick up weight. Easier to put on weight.
Right.
So I kind of keep them in bigger pens.
Right. Question with that manure. Do you change it? And if you do, how often do you have to change it? Does it get dusty and that kind of stuff?
Nah, it doesn't get done. It's usually already dried out. It's not wet. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, within about a week or two, they pretty
Right.
much scratched a bunch of it out.
Right. Right. So they kind of
So
so
it's,
you
it's
basically just doing refills.
yeah, refills. Yeah, basically refills. That's it.
Just basically, but that's probably another reason, man. You got that high pH on your yard, man. You got a whole bunch of manure scattered all over the place for being scratched about. I was just sitting here thinking, like, shoot, you doing it, you doing the same thing the farmer doing, but the only difference is he's spreading his manure out, and your roosters is spreading yours out for you. Well, guys, I mean that's some really good points there. I mean, like Anthony's saying, so he don't really have to deal with the dust and stuff like that because the manure that he is getting is pretty much already dried out. And he's basically doing refills. The roosters are scratching that stuff. They obviously scratching the outside of the pen, and Anthony really just only had to just going back in there and kind of refilling the pens. He talked about he keeps the stags in a smaller size pen to focus on allowing them to maintain a body. And before he moved them over to the bigger pen as they get older, he'll move them over to the bigger pen because the cocks, it's better for them to be in a bigger pen like that because they tend to, they can fluctuate. I mean, they can maintain a body weight with all that up and down, up and down, up and down versus a stag. If he start doing all that, he's going to be shriveled up like a little raisin. He'll end up working himself to death. Yeah. Okay. So let me see here. I think we pretty much, covered kind of like everything, man. And I like to, because we already on, we getting close to 2 hours. I don't know if you know it. We like at 1 hour and 45 minutes right now. So I told you, dude, it wasn't going to take long. I told you, I said, man, before you know it, we're going to be in this interview 2 hours. You're not even going to realize it, man. We had 1 hour and 40, almost 45 minutes, dude. So it's almost
like 30
2 hours.
minutes.
I know. So what I want to do just real quick, is just kind of recap on some stuff. I always kind of like to do a little recap, because maybe it might be some stuff you want to add or something like that. But, we talked about how, Anthony started out, how he started out with basically 2 families. He talked about how he set his lines. He does use line breeding and inbreeding because he feels as though, that's how you lock in those genetics and characteristics that you're looking for. Selection is a huge part of getting what you want, but it ain't no guarantee. Even with the best selection, you still might not get what you want. He talked about he only breed cocks until he has the family set in, before he would breed a stag out of that family. He need to make sure that that family is producing consistently on all forms from conformation, performance, and everything before he would even consider using a stag in a breeding program. He talked about, what the things he looked for in his cocks as far as he like mid-station. He believed conformation plays a big part in their performance. It's directly related to their performance. He evaluates his brood cocks from the time that they're chicks to the time they get older. He like, he don't mind a high-strung cock. He just don't want cock doing stupid stuff like chasing his tail, dirtying up his water bucket, and all that kind of stuff. He talked about what he likes to see in his hens. He liked a hen to be a hen. He like a very feminine hen. He don't like a hen to be crowing. He don't want a hen with spurs and all that type of stuff, for his liking. But again, he talked about you have to select based on what you like, not based on what the guy down the street like or what the guy down the street is looking for, but based on what you like. He talked about too, sometime you can put the best cock and the best hen together and still not get what you want. He also talked about, how you can have 2 hens, 4 hens out of a hatching, 2 of them produce nothing, and 2 of them produce like superstars. So that gives y'all a guy idea. Sometimes, when you're not getting what you want out of it, doesn't mean you need to give up on a bloodline or give up on a breeder, whatever, whatever the situation is. Sometimes you may have to pick another one out of that selection. And that also goes back to even what you're producing. Every one of your stags is not going to produce when they become cocks. Every one of your hens is not going to produce when they become, hens. So keep that in consideration. Just because you have a cock that's not producing or a hen that's not producing doesn't mean you need to discard the whole family. And we're only talking about based on Anthony's experience of what he has found that has worked for him. Obviously, everything is different, and depending on your situation. But he keep reiterating everything is trial and error, trial and error. Don't let nobody talk you out of trying something, because just because it didn't work for them doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. And just because it did work for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So do your own deal, do your own thing, do your own trial and error. And guys, once y'all go to his page and look at his birds, you'll see this young man has done a very, very good job. And again, the birds that you're looking at ain't just stuff that he brought. It's stuff that he produced, and picking his brain at night, he's giving y'all guys, his mindset, his methods, his techniques and stuff like that, that he used to produce. But some of the key jewels is, and I don't want to keep harping on this, but research and I call it research and development. He calls it trial and error. Trial and error. Try different things. If it doesn't work, go on back. If you have 5 good breeding seasons and you hit a wall, go back to the previous breeding season and start back from there. He didn't say go back 8 generations. He just said go back to the last place where you were producing what you like and then start back over from there, moving forward again. And like I say, he talked. I mean, dude, you talked about a ton of good things that I think a lot of people can take from this interview. That, in my opinion, will better the breed as a whole, not just better individual, but better a breed as a whole. Because with that trial and error thing, to me, that just confirms what I've always been saying. Every cross was an experiment. Every cross, I don't care what you have on your yard. You can go back to Kelso's, the sweaters. Go back to the people who created those birds. Those birds are a result of an experiment, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. They were a result of an experiment. So don't be afraid to try, new things. Don't be afraid to try that cross. So that's kind of what has got him to where he's at, is he's not afraid to do that trial and error. Try something new. If it doesn't work, I know where to go back to. Heavy select, focus on your selection. What your selection determines, Anthony has his selection, you have your selection. But whatever you determine your selection is, stick to it. Stick to it. And then stick to it until you see it consistently being produced. That's when you know you have locked in that family. If they're not being consistently produced, then you haven't locked in a family yet. You still got a little bit more time to go. It might be another season, another 2 seasons or whatever. But make sure that you see that consistency. That's when you know you got a locked in family. And Anthony don't branch out to anything unless he know that family is locked in. He doesn't breed any stags unless he know he got that family locked in. How did he know he got it locked in? By consistency. Not just from one cock, but from many different cocks in that family, but they all producing the same thing. Do that sound pretty much your concept or your methods? You're right. Okay.
Hit the nail on the head. Yes.
Okay. So, and I like to kind of do that recap because, again, it's been 2 hours. You've been on this thing almost 2 hours. And I like to make sure people who came in, we had an hour. Yeah. We had, like I said, almost 2 hours. So, I know people have came in midsection and 3 on, and sometimes the internet runs out or the phone dies. But I encourage y'all guys, like always in all these interviews, go back to the beginning. You listen to what he's saying. Look the result of his page and understand the stuff that you're looking at on his page is not stuff that he's brought. It's stuff that he's produced. So that gives you an idea that this is the result of his methods. That's my whole point I'm trying to make. What you see on his page is a result of his mindset and the way that he do things. And he's young, he hasn't been in it 40 years or probably ain't been in it 30 years. You ain't been in it 30 years.
Nope.
But again, he's been, taking some really good information from mentors that he has had. He's been taking good information and applying it to his program. But one of his big things, and I heard you say it many of times, trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. And it seems like that's one of the foundation principles of your whole program is trial and error. Try it and see how it works out. And it seems like you said that from the feed to the way you put stuff in the pen, to the way you pick selection. It looks like you apply that trial and error method to every part of your program.
Everything.
Right. Okay. Well, I just wanted, guys, y'all heard it first, and what I'm saying, y'all heard it first. Y'all heard it from the horse's mouth. It works. It works. And it's something I have been preaching a long time ago, but I'm not a notable American game fowl guy. So a lot of times my words don't have any credibility because you know how it is. If you ain't got the accolades, nobody don't want to listen to you. But as you can see, as I have always said, every cross was a result of an experiment. So I encourage people to try new things. But I think you said something really good information. Before you haul off and start trying new things, make sure you got something set in.
Right.
Make sure you got your family locked in before you start jumping off here and adding this and adding that and that. And you basically saying, well, how you going to add anything, dude? You ain't got nothing locked in.
You ain't got no stable foundation.
You ain't got no stable foundation. You ain't got no stable foundation. And listen to this. He said before he determined on using a stag. I mean, because a lot of times that's a question. People be like, well, do you believe in using stags? Well, with Anthony, He does believe in using stags, but only when he know the family is locked in. He doesn't use stags before he know that family is locked in. So is he going to do a first time cross breeding and then all of a sudden take a stag out of that and put it in a breeding program?
No.
Right? You ain't gonna do it. You ain't gonna do that. So Anthony has some stipulations in his response to the question of does he use stags? Yes, he does use stags, but is another part of the question. I'm sorry, is another part of the answer that you have to listen to. He does use stags only when he knows the family is locked in. So it's a yes or a no. If it's an experimented trial and error breeding, I don't use stags. If it's a locked-in family, I do use stags. So Anthony does and don't use stags based on those criterias, right?
Right. Exactly.
You know, and I know a lot of guys like, oh, you drive out. It's not that I'm driving it home, but I see so much stuff posted and I get so many questions. And a lot of guys are quick to call somebody a hypocrite or no, he told this and told that. I always say, well, it's another part of the story. Did you get the whole story? Because, you know, some guys say, well, Anthony said he used stags. Well, tell him the whole story. Anthony does use stags, but this is the criteria he used before he uses stag. Or the next guy is saying, I heard Anthony say he doesn't use stags. Well, it's another part to that answer. You know, he don't use stags if it's a trial and error part of the breeding. So, you know, guys, I think this has been some awesome information, period, point blank. Again, another very, very diverse breeder on, young, coming up, has had, you know, I ain't going to say he had no good luck. I ain't going to say you had no good luck. You put in a lot of work. That's what I say. You know, you put in a lot of work. I know you called a lot of birds. You spent a lot of money. You did a lot of research. But you still kept an open mind. You still was never deterred on trying new things. And you do what you want to do. You know, you don't let nobody talk you out of doing something or they'll talk you into doing something. You run your yard, you run your breeding program based on your criteria, based on what you're looking for, right?
Exactly.
So guys, you know, like I said, I know we pushing on 2 hours. Again, Anthony, is a lot of questions in the comments. So, you know, when you get an opportunity to get to those questions, we would appreciate if you can go in the comment section and answer those questions. And guys, y'all can go to his page. You know, go to his page and you know, take a look at his finished product. And if you have any additional questions and stuff like that, Anthony don't mind reaching out to you. Like he said at the beginning of the interview, he's more than willing to help out. But you're going to get the real unfiltered truth. But I think tonight, you know, he allowed us to pick his brain. You know, to me, it was a bunch of unfiltered information. And again, you know, I'm not going to say it's common sense at all because it wasn't common sense. But you can look at his methods and techniques and look at his end results. And if you got any additional questions for him, I would say reach out to him directly. But I encourage all y'all guys to go to his page and look at his finished product. I think it's something you should be proud of. That's one of the reasons I asked you to come on to the show. You know, you're not a big breeder, but we had a lot of other breeders out there that's the same size, and some of them are smaller. You know, some of them are smaller and some of them are bigger. But I think, like I was telling you earlier, you know, every person that comes on, they talk about something that can fit the situation of somebody watching. So, yeah, it might not fit 70% of the people watching, but it might fit 30% of the people watching. So that allows us to help 30% of the people. You know what I mean? And but I think he brought up some very, very good points on you know, also too, that pH balance in that soil. That's something that, you know, I think for just shits and giggles, why don't we all go out here and start doing it? You know what I'm saying? Just go out there and try it and see what you get. You know, you never know, you might learn something, man. You know, you might learn something. And again, when you go into those hydroponic stores or whatever they call hydroponic, whatever they hydroponic, you go into the hydroponic store, you might meet a new friend. You know, and the people in a hydroponic store might be able to tell you something about your soil. You know, might tell you in that area, this is what your expectations should be for that soil. It's not going to get any better. It's not going to get any worse. They might be able to tell you what you can do to your soil to make it a little better. I believe it's a lot of information in those places that you can really learn from. And again, like Anthony said, the better the soil, the better the bugs. The better the bugs, the better the chicks, the better the stags, the better everything else that's ripping and running all around on that land. So, again, I see Ainghao, Cecilia, and my son, Joseph. Hey, well, I'll give you a shout out in a second. There's somebody in the comment section asking to give a shout out. I don't know, Anthony, if you want to give anybody a shout out while you on here, you're more than welcome to. But that
Yeah,
just brought me to go ahead. I'm sorry.
I got to give a shout out to Red Cliff Dre. That's my partner, man.
That's right.
He's taught me so much, and one of my biggest mentor,
Right.
throughout the process. And I got my buddy
Right.
Mark Boylard and Kevin Harris and
Right.
Marlon. And there's so many people that I can name, that's
That's
helped
right.
me through the whole process, from the
That's
big
right.
times to the small times. To
That's
I'm
right.
I'm open minded. I'm willing to learn new
That's
things.
right.
I'm still learning new things, and I feel like that I'll never know it all.
That's right. That's exactly right. And listen, I'm gonna give a shout out to Angel Lopez. Asked me to give a shout out to Cecilia, which is his wife, and Joseph, which is his son. That helps him feed and water his yard. We greatly appreciate it because again, the wives and the kids a lot of times do not get the recognition that they deserve. Y'all guys know how I stand on that. I'm all about highlighting children and the wives because again, as the husbands are at work or on the road or doing whatever they do, a lot of times the wives have to kind of step up. And I'm not saying, they have to be out in the yard feeding all the time or whatever, but if they ever called on to do it, they always get out there and step up to the plate. And I think that's
Right.
extremely important. And it's very little time that they ever get any recognition. But y'all guys know how I stand on the women and the children in this sport. I put them on a pedestal.
Right.
So
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to my son too. He's one of the workhorses, and everybody that comes to the
that's
farm, they're
right.
like, man, he's always doing this, he's
See,
always doing that. He knows
see,
everything. He's been out there since
see.
he was 4 or 5 years old. Pulling
Right,
roosters out. He's 14 now,
right,
and he makes
right.
he makes the dream work. He's
See,
part of he's part of the program.
that's
If it
right,
wasn't
man.
for him, sometimes the birds they might not be as healthy
Yep,
or as good looking of a yard.
yep.
So yeah, he's one of the biggest players in the game.
That's right, brother. That is exactly right, and that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. And that's why I say I hold them up on high regards. Those children and those women, I hold them in high regards because everybody's situation is different. But I can tell you right now, man, nobody really hardly ever shines a light on them children and on them women that's a part of that program. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so yeah, guys, that's where we at. I hope y'all guys enjoyed the interview. I enjoyed the interview. Anthony, I hope you enjoyed the interview, man.
Wonderful.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, man. We had a
Hey,
lot of fun.
I hope after all this passes, you can come by the farm. We done met a couple times in person. It's time for you to get
That's
down
right.
here to this farm.
Well, you know what? That is my game plan. We talked about it earlier, man. I'll be up there. I'll be up there this year. I can tell you this Corona lockdown thing is kind of throw a monkey wrench in the game because I was supposed
Right.
to be back in Puerto Rico this month. But I promise you, I'll be up there at the farm. If the Wi-Fi is good, we'll do some live streaming from the farm too. So
Right.
just to let you know, that'll be something for us to look for. I hope you don't mind, but you know how I feel about cigars. I won't disrespect your home, but if you don't mind, I'll smoke them out in the yard.
Hey, the cockhouse is yours. I got a room set up, TV out there, everything. It's all
That's
yours.
awesome, dude. That's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Guys, listen, man. I hope y'all guys enjoyed this show. It's been awesome. It's been a pleasure. Anthony, man, I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot as I do on all of these, but you brought up some points that had never been talked about in any of these interviews, and that's what we get every single time we bring somebody on. Dre from Red Cliff, we were supposed to have his interview the day before yesterday. His internet was all messed up because of the Wi-Fi. So to let y'all guys know, Dre from Red Cliff Gamefarm will be coming on to the show. We just got to get it lined up, but he will be coming on to the show. A lot of y'all guys know him. I had already advertised that, but know that he's still on a roster. He's still on a roster. We're going to get him on the show and soon, very, very soon. Hopefully we can get him on tomorrow. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. That's all I have, dude. You was a part of the marathon. You was a part of history. 10 interviews back to back for the quarantine. Dude, we made history. We got one more interview to do, which is Red Cliff, man. But like I say, this has given us a lot of joy. It has relieved a lot of stress. It has gave us something else to look at besides the media. It has gave us something else to focus on besides the virus. And a lot of us is home. A lot of us in a stressful situation. because we can't move. But I think these interviews, and I'm hoping these interviews have helped. So, brother, good night. Stay focused, stay positive, stay blessed. I will talk to you soon. And guess, all y'all viewers out there, reach out to my man, Anthony. Go to his page. I think y'all guys, you'll create some new friends, maybe some new customers, whatever it be. It's all good. And I guess I can say just good night, man. You have
Good
a good
night,
night,
man. Yeah,
brother.
you have a
I'll
good
see you
one.
and I'll talk to you soon. All
Appreciate
right, man.
everything, man. Take it easy.
Not a problem, brother. All right. Y'all have a good night, everybody. And we will see y'all. I would say same place, same time tomorrow, but we don't know if Red Cliff internet is going to be acting up. But I will keep y'all guys posted. Y'all all have a blessed night, and I'll see y'all soon.